What's going on, everybody? Graydon here at the LPM podcast. We got an awesome guest for you today. We got Jake in the building. What's going on, Jake?
Hey, Graydon. Not much. Just enjoying a nice remote work from home day.
Work from home. Love it.
I'm a academic advisor for college students, so it's finals week, kind of starting to die down. So I get some more remote days, so it's nice.
I love it.
So most of my work day has been sitting here answering emails as they come in and sorting Masterpieces cards I had left over from 2022 set because I had a bunch of triple, quadruples and stuff to sort. And then, for anybody that doesn't know me, my name's Jake. I think my Instagram handle is JakeCG11. That's like what my eBay. I try to have the same because, when you sell stuff on eBay, people are always trying to track you down to sell things.
I'll put all your stuff down in the description. So if anyone wants to find you, they can find you on there.
Because, pretty much eBay, I do all the selling for like my brothers. And if they ever want to downsize stuff, like I do all the work for that. So half the stuff's not even mine. I've always been a sketch card collector. I've always collected cards. I love comics. Magneto is my primary character, but I do like others. I find it tends to be more like elemental kind of stuff, like Human Torch, Iceman, Ghost Rider. I like Cyclops, Sabretooth, Wolverine, and Deadpool were my favorite comics to read.
Yeah.
So I like those guys too, but they're just too expensive to collect sketches, so I don't.
You've been doing this a very long time, and you're somebody who's had an interest in original art for a very long time. You've gotten to know lots of the artists. You're kind of like the Matt Fuller in a way, where we can ask you a question about sketch cards, and you're kind of an authority on it. Do you agree?
Maybe not to Matt's level, but it's funny. I used to love and would look through over and over again Matt's Blowout Forum sketch sets where he'd have the artists.
Yeah.
So it almost felt like that was a way for me to kind of memorize sketch artists and signatures and stuff. Like I would use that. So I got good with that too. So someone just today in one of the Facebook groups was like, what artist is this? And I was like, oh, I know that signature. So I was just typed it in right away, know who it is. I don't know. I've always enjoyed that aspect. Once sketch cards became a thing, or that I knew that it was real, I was all in. That's what I wanted to collect. That's pretty much all I collect.
What year are we talking about?
So that would have been, let's see. Was Marvel Legends 2001?
Yeah, wow, that's going way back.
So that was, let's see. So early 2000s, probably from 2000 till 2000, I was born in 89. So I had my 90s sets, like my Fleur Ultra X-Men in a shoebox was my set that I still have it in a box in the other room. That was my favorite set. I would look through it all the time. But then, Marvel cards, since I didn't know at the time, but I think because I was always a fan of art or different things, the base sets didn't do a lot for me. So I think as a kid, it was just the sets in the 90s. It just was felt like more of the same. It wasn't exciting for me. Mm-hmm. I then moved more into, I've always liked watching sports. Me and my brother played soccer growing up. I like sports too. So in the early 2000s, we did collect sports cards. And I think it's because, there was autograph cards, there was jersey, there was things it was exciting to pull. But then I still always loved Marvel. So then, Marvel Legends 2001, I had a box that had one of those. They had a lot of repeat sketch cards. So I had an Iron Man sketch card, which was my first. And I kind of treasured that and kept that even with my sort of fancy sports stuff that was worth a lot or whatever, right? And it's not worth anything, but to me, it was so cool. It felt like this rare one of one thing. And I didn't know at the time that they would just do repeats over and over again. But then we quit sports stuff in 2005 or something. It just wasn't fun anymore. It got expensive, kind of like what's happened with Marvel a little bit.
Yeah.
And then around, would it be 2000 and maybe 11 or 12, whenever it was Greatest Battles for Rittenhouse came out. So there were sets before that, but that was the first one that we stumbled upon. I don't even remember when or how. And it was wait a minute, you get a sketch puzzle per box, and these boxes are $60. So it totally changed, and it was a full obsession from there. Then finding, older sets Spider-Man Archives, X-Men Archives, Fantastic Four archives, and it was just like every holiday from there, it was just nothing but Marvel Rittenhouse, and just because you got sketch per box, it was cheap, and it was never. I think out of the hundreds and hundreds of boxes we've opened, only one time there was ever a box that didn't have a sketch. So you were never disappointed. And in that case, a box had 2 sketches. So it sort of, I think it was probably in the packing. It just got put in the wrong pack or whatever.
Right.
So that's just sort of like how it happened. And then from there, yeah, I've just been a full sketch card nut. And I don't really care about anything else other than because my brother's a beast character collector like all you guys and loves that. So I'm sort of, we always joke about, and I've said this before, like I've definitely bought and found more beast cards than he has because he's just sort of a bum and doesn't look as much as I do. So like, I mean, I have all of his printing plates. I think, yeah, like 90% of them I found or traded or bought or whatever on his behalf. I mean, many people still think I'm a beast collector or they get us mixed up because it's always me.
Right. You know, you found me some big cards before. You've definitely helped me out with a lot of acquisitions for my collection that were big pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I have saved searches now on eBay that are just specifically for friends, just to like keep an eye out. And I know everybody has the same ones, but I figure there's been a few things that I've gotten for myself or for my brother that friends have been like, hey, this is for sale in this random spot, like a forum. And then it's just kind of like a go, 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 go. And then I panic and go buy it. And it's just because a friend was looking out and goes like, oh, hey, weren't you looking for this? So
in this collecting of yours of sketch cards, you're having an affinity for original art. One of the things we've been focusing on lately is the original art being translated into comic books and cards. So every card has an origin of where on earth the image comes from, and you have some of the original art. So today, do you want to show us, say, an example of a comic original art that you own that's in black and white?
yeah, so this is the only comic book art that I own, unless I'm forgetting something, which I would be surprised if I did.
I'm gonna make you big.
This is, let me get it. Let's see, there we go. So this is Sabretooth. It's like, I think it's page 1, 6, and 7, or let's see, page 3 and 4 from Wolverine number 160.
Wow.
So in this, you can't, because they don't have like the word bubbles on there, right? It's Sabretooth is kind of walking down the street, and then like a group of, I don't know, like a gang or something, they're sort of confronting him. And then on the previous page, then it flips to this, and Sabretooth just ripped the guy's arm off, rips off like his trench coat and everything so you can tell it's him. And he says, like, I'm the king of the freaking jungle. And then, you know, they're all like in the alley, and he goes in and comes out dripping blood. So it's like he just murdered everybody. And I don't know, Sean Chen is by far my favorite comic book artist. I loved he's my favorite Wolverine artist. By far, Wolverine, Deadpool were the comics I read over and over again with, you know, some X-Men too. So this was a gift that I don't even remember when my brother tracked it down years and years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just cool to have, like, so it was like, you know, you opened up a comic and that's what we saw. So it's just really neat.
That's awesome. I would love to see the comic book displayed next to it to the page.
Oh, I know. I should do that. I should buy like a cheap copy and then like take out the staple and frame it. That's a great idea. I've never.
That would look so cool. I would love to see that. Looking in the background here now, you have another piece of card art from a recent set. Can we take a look at that one?
Sure.
Wow.
So then this was a recent impulse purchase. So this is a Dave Palumbo Human Torch from Marvel Platinum, which it was kind of like a funny story behind it because I knew Dave a little bit from when I went to Dan's like masterpieces painting event, and he was there like taking photos and stuff. And Dan had invited us to go to this Alux Con, which is mostly like sci-fi fantasy artwork. Because he said Boris Vallejo and Julie Bell were going to be there, and me and my brother, our dad, that was his favorite artist, so we're like, oh my gosh, we got to go. And Dan was really nice and showed us around, introduced us, and like we looked at art with him, and it just was a great experience. And Dave was there, and I was chatting with Dave, and he had the actually I have his business card here. He had the Ghost Spider there up, for sale. And I was chatting with him about, like, I always thought it'd be cool to get like a thing commissioned from him. I have like a specific idea like I want to do. And he was like, yeah, I did a thing for a set coming out. And it just didn't even occur to me to like ask him about other characters, other stuff. I just was in full chit chat mode, like not thinking. So then the set comes out, and Fausto Norin, he's opening box or something on his stream, and he pulls the Human Torch card, and I immediately was like, I gotta message Dave and ask if this is still available. I gotta know. And yeah, sure enough, he's like, hey, well, actually, I've been kind of procrastinating. I haven't gotten it listed yet. I was thinking about doing it tomorrow. Like, we sort of went back and forth on price and stuff and settled. And I was like, yeah, let's just do it. So it was just this weird sort of sequence of events. And it was kind of funny and something I didn't plan on doing at all.
Right.
But once I got it, I mean, I'm so happy with it. I love it. It's just sitting out of frame because I'm lazy. But he included like a hand typed letter from like an old school typewriter in the back,
Cool.
like talking about how he wanted to do the Fantastic Four in his masterpieces and didn't get to. So when he had the chance to do all the characters, he was so excited. And I think so. I've thought a little bit about like why I like that so much, and I think it's because it doesn't really look quite exactly like you would expect Human Torch. It's almost like he doesn't have clothes on. Yeah. So it kind of reminds me of Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen, who is another favorite character of mine.
Really cool.
So it feels like it's just this, I don't know, it looks very alien almost, sort of like Silver Surfer. There's like this alienness to him.
Yeah.
But then also he's human. And so it's just, I love it.
I'm very interested in original art at the moment. I find it's really cool that there's two sides of collecting now. There isn't just the card. For myself, I had never thought about the fact of the original paintings. I had a conversation with an artist a couple of days ago where we were talking about how back in the day you would mail in your originals without really the expectation or the industry standard that they were going to get returned to you.
Wow.
And just imagine like Joe Jusko's pointed out a number of times how he's sent in paintings that were never returned to him. And just what a strange way of doing business back in the day. That must have been terrible. Where today it's such a big part of collecting.
Absolutely.
That would be infuriating. But thank you so much for showing that to us. Mm-hmm. Do you want to show us another one of your Magneto paintings there that you have handy?
So yeah, the only other one I have a painting from the MM new set that's hanging up in my other room. I didn't bring over just because I don't know. I haven't really talked about it too much because I'm superstitious and it hasn't been printed yet. But then we did finally see it on the print, those signed prints that Upper Deck put up. But I am happy to show this because it's preliminary art. So Dan did these painted color studies, I guess, like getting ready for the set. And we did like a trade for cards and stuff, and he had different artwork, and it just was, I think it was mostly Dan just being nice to me. That's how it feels. But it's just nice to have, like, I don't have any other preliminary art before this set, so it's just really neat to have something that doesn't look like preliminary art to me. Like it's it's a color. It's like it feels like a fully like this could have been the card.
Yeah.
And he kept a lot of the elements of it, so I'm very sort of, I don't know, it's surreal to own something like that.
That is surreal.
And it wasn't just like I outbid somebody and spent the most. I think it was because I was nice, Dan was nice, like we get along really well, and it felt more of like a friendship thing than I was just the richest person who bought it or something, right? And I kind of sort of the same thing with the Human Torch. Like it cost a lot of money. I spent a lot. And I think it was fair, like a fair price.
Yeah.
But it, I don't know. I just think if I hadn't have had conversations with Dave and like he knew my name and stuff, so I reached out. Like maybe he wouldn't have let me have it before he put it on sale, like for the website. It just a lot of luck. But I think sometimes, like, when you're a good person and you're nice,
Yeah.
sometimes luck is a little bit of karma.
It's amazing how life is when you're not a dick.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just, everybody give it a shot. If you're not trying it already, not being a dick goes a long way in life. It's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a bunch of people in the groups that I don't like, but they don't know it. I don't, because I don't have to like advertise like, hey, I really don't like you. Like,
That's
I'm an
right.
adult. Like, I can just sort of quietly not talk to them.
And you know what? I love that. That's the quote of the day right there. Is I'm an adult, and
Yeah.
100% it. Something I wanted to ask you about here. So you've been collecting these sketch cards. You have the original art. Are you putting a heavy onus on items that are published Marvel products? Like, are you interested in original art that isn't published?
Oh yeah, actually, um, I wish I had a fast way to show it to you. So Miles Wool, who's was doing cards for the Platinum set,
Yeah.
he was at OAX, and me and my brother were just kind of walking around talking to different artists. We got to talk to Dan Brereton. That was really cool. Um, and Eric Grove, and Miles was there, and he just had paintings for sale. And I just thought his paintings looked so cool. And just chatting with him, getting to know him, and I was like, man, and he like had his commission prices, and I was thinking like, do I really need something? Because I kind of, yeah, it's like you're around a lot of published art, and it's like, published art will hold more value in long term or this or that, but that's not kind of really why I buy stuff, right? And I kind of walked away. Then they did like we were in one of the rooms and they happened to be doing interviews, and Miles was doing interviews. So I went and sat down and listened to his thing. And I was thinking, gosh, he's just so nice. Like, I think I'm going to do a commission. And I think Justin was doing the interview, and he said something. Miles said, like, I can't wait to do Magneto. Magneto's my favorite. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love Magneto. And then Justin goes, oh, we got a Magneto guy in the crowd. And then, like, we sort of connected, and it was like, oh, he's like, oh yeah, I talked to Jake earlier. So then as soon as I was like, yep, I'm doing it. So I have a commission in the works from Miles of a Magneto. He sent me like a digital. He sort of works out the layout, like as like a prelim, like a sketch. Like, hey, is this pose okay? That kind of thing.
Right.
And I could not be more excited for it. It's so cool. Amazing. It's kind of similar to Dan's in that it's his. So he's kind of floating up in the air, but then he's surrounded by missiles. Like he's sort of caught missiles, and he has them pointed to go right back down at the ground.
Yeah.
And his thought was, it's from the original X-Men comic. It's from the first episode of X-Men animated series. And I was like, oh, he's just like, we're in the same vibe. So yeah, I do like, I'll get commissions from his handle is Mayonnaise and Bread. Most people know his name used to be, like, in sketch cards, it was always Jason Keith Phillips. Then he changed to Mayonnaise and Bread, or just like Mayo he signs. I get commissions from him like pretty regularly just for fun. Like, on my wall is like a real, he'll do some like fun sort of, what's the word I want to use? Eccentric sort of different art, right? So I've got like a real weird Rick and Morty artwork on my wall that I don't really ever like share. No, I don't, it doesn't, I appreciate, let me answer it. I talk too much, but let me
no. People have come to hear your opinion, so this is great.
I think published art, the value that goes with it, if it's kind of outside of your comfort zone in terms of money. So for me, right, like I have two published paintings. They were both basically like around $8,000 each, right? That is way outside my comfort zone in terms of just cash for something on the wall. Like, I'll spend that on a case of cards, but I sell most of it and keep the sketch cards, right? Or like I have whatever, I've got like 250 Magno sketch cards. Like, though adds up to a similar amount of money probably. I don't really like keep track of that. Right. But to have like one thing on the wall where I'm like, that's like a Toyota whatever.
Yeah.
I think when it's way outside your comfort zone like that, in terms of financial, it's nice that it's published and you feel like if something happened, I got cancer or something terrible happened, I could sell that and get the money back.
Right.
Whereas Alex Magno sketches or like my brother's Beast collection, all these like smaller things, I don't care what it cost because I'm not thinking about ever selling it. I'm dying with it. Some lucky relative A descendant down the future will get like my stuff. They won't know what it is and they'll have to sell it, but they'll get money.
Right.
They won't get what I paid for it. Like that is okay. So I think that's sort of what's happening a bit.
Right.
Is when you have masterpieces 2000 when they're $800 to $1,000 a box, and a case costs more than many of the paintings. Right? It depends on the characters and composition and all that stuff. Right? But a case costs more than I paid for my one painting. It's really that you're gambling. Whereas
you're gambling
is I'm getting an asset of a thing. So if you love it enough and you can afford it, there's a comfort in like, oh, it's published, it's going to be worth that. Right. Whereas I don't know. I have one commission that my wife got me of Darth Maul, which is a Star Wars character from an artist, which I won't mention it because a lot of people like him. It's not what she paid for. He was a pain in the ass to get through it. Yeah. I don't really care for it that much. I cannot get anybody to buy the thing for even, it was like a $300 commission, and I can't get anyone to pay $100 for it.
Right.
So it's this weird, like, if that was published and I couldn't get back a third of what I paid for it, like that would be terrifying.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of what's happening is like when you get these published paintings, it's just comfort. It's comfort that it's like you're getting what you paid for, and there's no gamble.
There's definitely security in a published work. I do love, though, that you're collecting your way and that you're collecting things that speak to you, items that you're looking at and saying, I'm less concerned about the history of this and more concerned with the fact that I love the piece.
Oh, yeah, because I'm horrible with history, even just like human life history, like of the United States or just the world or whatever. Like I'm so bad with history. It's funny, like when you and Fausto talk about like the importance of the character, and this is the card, and this card image is from this comic book, which is from this year, and this artist, and all that stuff. It's just like overwhelming and over my head, and I go like, I feel more like this sort of, I don't know how to describe it with sketch cards. I just go like, well, I just like it. But there's something about it that catches my attention, and I have a hard time articulating it.
That's totally okay. Yeah, and it's totally okay. I think there's in Marvel collecting and comic book knowledge, I think there is an overemphasis on having to know an entire background about every little thing. It's totally acceptable to say, you know what, I just like it. And I don't have to explain to you why I like it. I just do, and I own it, you know?
For sure. And I think where I'm different than some people too, I have like my favorites and I love all my stuff, but I also don't know. I don't have as much of I feel like if I had to sell everything, I could. Like if something bad happened, it wouldn't be the worst thing that ever happened to me if I had to get rid of everything. Right. And even like in downtime, I'm sure everybody experiences it too. Like when the hobby changes, money struggles. I've had like problems like different job changes and stuff. Yeah. Where it's like, what am I doing? Why do I have all these thousands of dollars worth of things? Right? It seems sort of feel almost insane. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So I think that also makes it easier for me sometimes as a collector because I can be sort of non-committal. It's like I love it, but then I don't have to feel like it's this big. I'm going to keep it. Or I don't have to keep it if I don't want to. I can change what I like. It's not like a big deal. It's not a thing.
Is the original art market for Marvel products right now at the highest that you've seen it? I know that you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah. Even like, it's funny. Let's just say 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago, paintings from different of the 90s sets and stuff would go for like a couple of grand. And I remember thinking, who in the world is affording this and buying these? And then now, most paintings are going to be 5 to 10 plus. You know, yeah. Spider-Man's going to be 20, 30, like whatever. It's character dependent, this and that. And then all the old stuff has now caught up to prices to now or even more. So it's because you can go to was it Golden Auctions or one of those websites? You can look for like what stuff used to go for.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. If that's what's happening now, everybody would have a piece of original art, because if it was only $3,000 a piece,
Yeah.
like it would just like, compared to the cost of the boxes, it's almost like we're in our own inflation market within cards, like the world. It's
I'm thrilled to see original art being a large part of the conversation today. Me personally, I don't collect original art from Marvel products. One, I can't afford it.
yeah.
And two, I'm interested in collecting other types of art. I collect. Oh, I won't get into what I collect, but my art collection is very different than
Yeah.
from comic art. But I love paintings from the past. So my favorite artists are the Hildebrandt brothers.
Okay.
The paintings to me, the '94 set, which I actually have just behind me, is the first time that I saw light painted in with Marvel characters that were just, they were shockingly good. And I don't know, it's always been burned into my brain, and I understand how good Dan is, how good Palumbo is, and Simone and Jesco and all of these people. It's just that one originally speaks to me. So if I were to ever own any original art, I would want it to be a Sabretooth from the Hildebrandt brothers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
The
mean,
the Power Blast card, I think Steve owns it actually. That painting is just the background on my phone, and I love.
yeah, they're amazing. I mean, at the OAX convention, they had some of their art in person,
Yeah,
and it was so much more impressive than I thought it would be.
that. We saw recently that OAX is coming back for 2025 January in Orlando. Are you planning on attending?
Oh yeah, we've got our tickets. Me and my brother will be there.
You'll be there.
Probably
Awesome.
at one of the villa thing, what, like the Airbnb, basically, like
Yeah.
where we did last time. And I think I was telling you, or describing to somebody, it felt like seeing a bunch of people, like when you're in college and you go back home or something, and you see a bunch of friends that you haven't seen for like 6 months, and it's just this fun kind of nothing but fun, hang out, catching up. That's what it was. It really, like, it felt like an injection of youth.
Yeah, they love that. For people who are on the fence about going to OAX, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you enjoyed the most about it?
Okay, so I have never been a convention person. Never went to conventions. I went to one I live in Columbus, Ohio. We have like a smallish one. I went, and it was all vendors, like people selling Funko Pops and action figures and things. And I thought, okay, well, this isn't really what I wanted.
Right.
Then I never really entertained going to another one.
Yeah.
And then Dan had said, like, hey, go to this IX convention, which was sci-fi fantasy art. And it felt like walking around a museum meant for me, where you could buy everything.
Right.
So it was, and I was like, oh, like I'll go to this every year. So then it was like, hey, let's do this OAX thing. I didn't really want to go. And I was like, but it'll be fun to like see some people. So I was like, whatever, it's a weekend, and I went. It was, again, it kind of felt like it was for me. Cool. So you go in, it wasn't that big. I'm sure this year will be bigger, more people and stuff, but it was only artists selling artwork, doing artwork.
Right.
They had like a booth with Marvel trading cards, Jose and Steve had like all the masterpieces paintings. They had other paintings, like they had a Hildebrandt brothers Lord of the Rings painting that was massive and like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
I saw it. That's amazing. Yeah.
So that it was like even though it was small, I'm sure compared to other conventions, I didn't feel like I was in this jam packed like what I see pictures of.
Yeah.
So it was great, and seeing all these different, like David Finch, like his artwork was really cool. It was weird to see him sitting there just like working on stuff where he could just flip through his portfolio and he didn't really care. Yeah. You could just be like, hey, I want to buy this. It was weird.
Right.
But it was very surreal and fun. So like that's why I liked it. Yeah. Now, like if there was no convention, I would go just like hang out with everybody.
Yeah.
But that was really cool. And just, again, it feels like there's another world I don't really understand or I'm a part of. So that's kind of fun too. Like within sketch collecting, right? Like Alex Magno is my favorite. For years, he was like $15-20 a sketch card. So I could get as many as I wanted, this and that. And it was like, oh, like Glebe and Nar, and those were like the big people. But then their sketches would maybe go for $200-300 or $400 or whatever. Then this new wave came in where then all of a sudden it's like people are spending $1,000 for like Liddy Lee or Fred Ian and stuff. So you get exposed like, oh, there's these other people that are at a different level. And
Right.
then now there's the original artwork. It's like, oh, there's all these people who have been collecting paintings for years.
Right.
Then you go to a convention like OAX where there's a lot of comic book art, and they're collecting comic book cover paintings or interior pages. And you'll look at an interior page from Batman, whatever, and it'll be like $1,000. And I go, what in the world? I have no interest. And then someone will be walking by with one, and they're paying it like it's nothing. Because like another eye-opening experience. They had an auction. So I had a Thor hammer panel, like a hammer like thing to bid. Everybody had, but I mostly just sat there just to kind of see what is this world like,
Right.
And it is deep waters. It kind of reminded me of some Star Wars collectors where there's just a lot of money that I don't have, where they have real estate level money probably just hanging on their wall or in those Ayatollah like binder sort of art books.
Yeah.
So it was fun in that too, just kind of be a fly on the wall and seeing like I don't know if you've ever seen those like car auction. There used to be like a show on TV.
Barrett Jackson.
Yes, and that used to be fun. Like as a kid, you'd have be like, all right, I got $1 million. What am I going to buy?
So I've been to some auctions in my life. So most recently, I went to the Basquiat auction at Christie's in New York City.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
And I was on the floor for watching paintings sell for $50 million. And it was interesting. I frequently go to New York City for painting purposes, my own painting purposes. But I love going to the auctions, and I love getting to go for walkthroughs in closed door situations that I get in because I just know somebody in the art world who's, I knew an underwriter actually who snuck us into that one. Wow. And just getting to, I didn't give me a paddle, but it was, it was really cool to get to do those things. Something that we've touched on here is how you collect original art and the enjoyment that you get out of it. Another side of original art right now being popular in Marvel is that the artists have another revenue stream to help keep them afloat in a world that is very hard to be an artist in. So like, I love seeing original art, even though I don't collect it. I'm really on board with the boom in original art because it gives these artists another chance to keep doing their craft.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard. It's hard to be a professional artist because really like when somebody asks you, when someone asks one of these people what they do for a living, the answer isn't that they're an artist. The answer is that they're an entrepreneur. One of the things that they do during that entrepreneurship is art, but there's a whole world around it. Anyone who's done art for any commercial purpose knows that art is such a small part of it in a way. There's the media portion of it, curating, sales, assembling material, building canvases. At times you feel like a craftsman. You're a carpenter before you're an actual painter. And it's really nice for me to see a boom in original art because I like seeing the artists have success.
Oh, absolutely. Or even like, it's funny you said like the entrepreneurship. Like, I remember when I was at the AluxCon, like that sci-fi fantasy con, and just kind of walking around with Dan because they'd have a thing on at night where it was artists who weren't on the main floor, like the showcase, but then they could show their stuff. Yeah. And you'd see the difference in the quality of like their sign and their name, and watching him give younger or newer artists tips like, hey, your name needs to be 10 times bigger. Like you can't even see your name. And all these sort of like, it was almost like marketing tips. Yeah. And it's just stuff I'm not even thinking about because I'm just looking at the paintings and, hey, how are you? That kind of stuff. And he's like, hey, like your business card's too big or this thing or that thing. And just there's this veteranness to that I think it's like with any part of life, like it just takes time to learn. That's right. It's just really interesting to see. And I feel like I pay attention to that now more when I am a part of different things, or if I'll try out a Patreon and then maybe I won't stay because it's sort of not what I wanted. And it's because there's like a certain professionalism and entrepreneurship that goes into it that as like the customer or the audience, like I want it to be a certain thing, or it's, you don't even think about it, that could be going in a big way into why like someone maybe is successful or not as successful.
Right. Something I want to ask to close this out, something I've been seeing a lot of lately and that I've been talking to people on the podcast about is AI in art. So have you followed any of the artificial intelligent images that have been being kind of thrown into the mix in spots?
Yeah, I think I actually like upset somebody in one of the groups because they bought artwork and it was someone I was looking at too, and their stuff was really cheap, and that usually makes me suspicious. Where I go, this is too cheap for the quality.
Right.
And then it was it's someone had mentioned that it was fakes, and I did some searching, and yeah, it was some person had like digital generated art, which I couldn't tell. I don't know if it was AI or not. And then the
Right.
other person had copied it without giving credit.
Right.
So with AI, yeah, I would say my main worry is like someone can just generate it, then do like a tracing of a right composition is a big part of what the talent is, being able to come up with the idea.
Absolutely.
So if someone else can come up with the idea to start, how much is it really you? How much isn't? Because I don't mind if there's digital involved in the process of making a painting.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares whether you pencil sketched it or sketched it in the thing? Blue line art has been a thing for years. Even within sketch cards, I think like Martinek would do that. He would like draw stuff out, then run it through a printer, and then he'd have like a whole process. That's how those comic cover sketches would look so good.
Right.
And it's like, that's tools. Like, I don't mind that. But yeah, I don't want something to generate the form or the layout or whatever. That's probably what bothers me the most.
I'm so thrilled to hear how aware you are of looking at something and starting to see some alarm bells as being like, when something does look really similar to an image that you might not have your finger on, but you recognize it, you're like, something's slightly off with this price point. I think that the public has to be diligent in understanding that there are tiers of artwork out there, and knowing that it came from an artist and the labor that went into it's important, and being able to identify that seems so there's something off about it. I think it's recognizable.
I mean, there is at one convention I was with an artist asking questions to another artist, and I could tell they were trying to feel them out because they thought it was bullshit.
Interesting.
There was some kind of printing that they painted over top or something, because the price did not even remotely match the time it should have taken to do the art.
Right.
And as a layman, like even just not understanding some of the lingo of the artist, but I can tell when someone's talking through their ass and they're just bullshitting because they're getting caught in the spot.
Right.
And there's no way that guy's art was fully real. There was definitely something going on there. Right. And there was plenty of people I saw buying their art day after day for thousands of dollars. So yeah, there's like, you really have to be as educated and then kind of go with your gut. Because if something is too good to be true, it probably is.
Absolutely. There is a lot of really shady stuff going on around collecting, and you have to be very diligent to make sure that you're getting something authentic and not getting ripped off. And really important to have people in the group to be able to rely on their knowledge to help you make good decisions. Jake, I think we're going to pretty much wrap it up there. Okay. I want to thank you so much for coming on here and chatting original art with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always fun to chat.
Yeah, man. And we'll do another one of these soon. And everybody out there, please like and subscribe these. If you're enjoying the podcast, drop a comment down below. Let us know what you think. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll chat soon.
See ya.